And a pleasant good morning to you all. Welcome back to another episode of Morning Quest. We're live at the peak of recorded human history. You should feel good about it. Lots of exciting stuff happening in the gaming world. I'm really excited to talk about a lot of that today. Everything from Metaphor to FF7 to Dragonball having probably its biggest day in years, considering that both Dragonball Daima and Sparking Zero dropped today. So again, lots of exciting stuff to discuss. Check it out. As far as the channel goes, I know the channel's been a little bit slower this week, which is okay, because the last 2 or 3 weeks, we really ramped things up. The good news is that this weekend, we're not only going to be live with a podcast, we will likely be live with some Metaphor ReFantazio, and we're going to be continuing our Pokemon Nuzlocke. Also, for those of you who may be wondering, I have been working behind the scenes on a lot of videos. I have a lot of videos backlogged for when Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy heat up. So just know that even when the channel is slow, your boy here is absolutely grinding, always making videos, always making content, always working on something. Some of it is very long form. Some of it, like I said, I've backlogged, but don't you worry, your boy's always grinding, always getting to work. Also, you know, I did talk a few months ago, that there were a lot of big projects coming to the lodge. Morning Quest ended up being one of them. I would just like to let all of you know that the second project that I named, that I haven't disclosed yet, is also going incredibly well. There are a handful of you in the lodge community that actually got a sneak peek at what I'm working on. Not ready to announce or show anything off yet. But for those who are in the know, and for those who know I've been working on something big behind the scenes, just know that it's going very, very well. We've made a lot of strides lately. So again, just know that even when the channel gets a little quiet, your boy is still always working, always making cool new stuff. And again, we're live today. We'll be live tomorrow with a podcast and a stream. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode now that we did a little bit of a lodge recap. Okay. First things first, let's start with some of the more, in my opinion, some of the more exciting stuff to talk about today is Ever Crisis, which Ever Crisis is a game that I fell off of. Like, I did have a good time with it. I do want to say, as far as mobile games go, Ever Crisis is pretty damn good. Like, if Missing Link plays as well as Ever Crisis, I think Kingdom Hearts fans will be very happy. But that said, I did fall off of Ever Crisis. It was just a little bit too gotcha for me. And considering that we're for the most part, retreading old Final Fantasy stories, it doesn't lock me in as much as it could. Like, we do get a lot of new content, new stories and stuff like that. But primarily what you're doing in Ever Crisis, if you're like me and you're a total sicko and you've gone through the compilation a number of times, really, Ever Crisis is, excuse me, it's just covering old ground. Again, there is new stuff, there's new story, which is exciting, but I just think as a game, I have fallen off a little bit on it. That said, there's still some very exciting stuff that comes from Ever Crisis, a lot of stuff worth discovering, worth talking about, and, you know, the last time we had a big story dump, we got some cool Sephiroth backstory. But anyway, enough of me yapping about it. We do have a number of things to cover today. Let me put this in the clear here. That should be good. Let me know how the volumes are, guys. We're going to watch this little trailer they put out. The first half of the trailer is stuff we've already seen. All the fun stuff comes in the second half of the trailer. So let's let this rip. Let's make sure we got the right... No, we want 1080p, baby. Give the people the good stuff. All right, you guys ready? Again, let me know how the volumes are. Let's rip it.
土地には正体不明の不気味な力がある。その正体を突き止めるまでは調査が終わったとは言えない。
I always gotta say, whatever logo they draw up for any Final Fantasy VII project is always so peak. So I love his, here we go. So young Angeal's been revealed, which is something we knew this was coming. A few months back, the most we had to go with was basically this shot of him in the corner. We all pretty much knew who this was. But it's good we're actually getting to see young Angeal in the flesh. It's so funny because he looks like Zack. And I have to say, I appreciate the shamelessness to make Angeal look exactly like Zack, but not have him be Zack's dad. So I give him credit for having the balls. Anyway, what I love about Angeal, because I gotta say, I actually do love Crisis Core. I think as a game, it's a bit above average. As a story, for the most part, I think it's pretty damn good. I think there's some stuff that retcons things from the original FF7 that I would have preferred they didn't, like Genesis being there for one of Sephiroth's pivotal moments. I think that scene is better when it's just Sephiroth. But anyway, I'm rambling here. Angeal is a fantastic character. Probably the best character to come out of Crisis Core. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Genesis. I love Cissnei. Everybody here knows I'm a big Cissnei guy. Been working on a Cissnei video, but the thing about Cissnei is there's this thing I'm working with Cissnei where it's like the further I look into it, the more I keep finding. So this video was supposed to come out a couple weeks ago, but the more I kept crafting this theory, the more I just kept like unlocking it. So it's turned into a pretty long form Cissnei video that I'm working on. That said, Angeal's got to be probably the best character to come from Crisis Core. And a lot of that has to do because he amplifies Zack in a lot of ways. Because when you look at Angeal, you're like, that's who Zack would grow up to be. Obviously, Zack's life gets cut short in Crisis Core, but if Zack were able to grow further into his adulthood, he probably would end up just like Angeal. That said, it's really cool to look that before Angeal was Angeal, he seemed to be a lot like Zack. So I think the legacy of the Buster Sword, it gets a little bit more interesting when you see that Angeal really sort of embodied the same sort of persona and characteristics that Zack did in his younger days. But anyway, enough of me yapping. Let's let this keep going. And let me get chat on the screen. I noticed chat was taken off the screen. Let's throw you guys back in there. Okay, let's roll. Also interesting, I'll pause there. Okay, cool little Angeal fact. You guys will notice that in this fight, he's not using the Buster Sword, right? Use creates wear, tear, and rust. So he has a whole separate sword, which is like the soldier sword, and he keeps his Buster Sword sheath. I just love it. It keeps the Angeal lore very true to itself. All right, around the corner. They'll give us some good stuff to talk about. So here again, most of everything we saw before then, with the exception of like the Zack gameplay. Look at me, the Angeal gameplay. We've already pretty much seen. This is where a lot of the new stuff comes in. As a Zack hater but an Angeal lover, I am offended. Look, scene sip. Lance says, I will say First Soldier could really help his character for me. Oh, you're talking about Angeal? Yeah, because he's the mentor in Crisis Core. His job is essentially to be the mentor. And especially when you follow a traditional hero's journey, the mentor's job in a story is very simple. Pass on your wisdom and then die. I think it creates an extra spicy story scenario when the pupil has to strike down one's own master. I think it was done especially in a way. I love, by the way it was done, that Zack had to strike down Angeal before he could turn into a full-blown monster. Which again created Zack striking down of him rather virtuous. Anyway, I actually really love Angeal. And as somebody who also really loves Genesis, I think Angeal's the better character. But let's let this roll. Enough of my yapping. Okay, listen, I know a lot of people compare this particular shot to Yuzora looking out the window and Noctis looking out the window. Listen, man, I've seen a lot of movies, TV shows, I've seen a lot of cinema and media in my days. This is a pretty common shot, a dude sitting by the window. Anyway, I'm yapping. Let it go.
Okiro. そろそろ現場に到着だ。少し話さないか?
Okay, so I gotta say, he really couldn't look better. He really couldn't look better. Again, I like the fact that in Crisis Core, he has like a hyper masculine build. He's very burly. His face is filled out. It's really cool to see him in his younger days when he's a little bit more slender, a little bit more boyish and young in his face. I love this kind of stuff because I now, just in seeing a young Angeal, just in seeing him like this, I almost feel like I know the character better just from seeing him like this, because now I can almost like map out his transformation. What I'm really interested in seeing is how his personality was different in these younger days compared to the older. Based on the little bit we've seen, it looks like he's going to be quite the puppy, the way Zack was a puppy. So let's let this roll.
俺はアンジール・ヒューレ。ソルジャーとしては駆け出しだが、年はお前と変わらないはずだ。
I love this. I really do love this because it's interesting, right? Because when I'm looking at the two of these interact, I see Zack and Cloud, which obviously is the point, but like literally, like when I look at a young Angeal and a young Sephiroth before he turned, Angeal before he became more of a mentor, more of a leader, you almost get a glimpse at what would have Zack and Cloud been like had they been in the soldier program together. And it's also pretty, that's it, right? Yep. I also find it pretty funny that, and here, let me just toggle the chat off for a second here. It's so funny because again, it's like looking in some alternate universe of Zack and Cloud in a way. And again, it's very clear this is Sephiroth and Angeal, but I absolutely love that when looking at a young Angeal and looking at a young Sephiroth, you really get vibes of both Cloud and Zack, which beautifully done. Again, when there's not too much to dissect here, they really just gave us a little bit of a sneak peek of Angeal here. I'm just hoping that, again, the Angeal that we get to know here in First Soldier, I just want him to be relatively different to the Angeal we know in Crisis Core. I want to be just like the way he looks different, and I can map out now like how he got older and stronger and built a little more. I want to, in the same way, be able to map out like, okay, here he is in First Soldier, there he is in Crisis Core. I can see how he got wiser. I can see how he got more resourceful. I can see how his sort of personal philosophies progressed. I also would like to, one thing I hope they really expand on with young Angeal, I really would like them to expand on the relationship he has with his father. Because, you know, just by the nature of FF7, a lot of these characters lost their parents, primarily their mothers. But Zack's story of his father is, in my opinion, actually a really touching one. The idea that his father basically like worked himself into an early grave, but in working himself to an early grave, saved up enough money to purchase the Buster Sword so that his son could go off to Midgar well equipped, right? And pursue his dreams. It's like a father who worked tirelessly so that his son, being Angeal, could pursue his dreams. And again, he ended up working himself into an early grave. So again, I'd like to see that expanded upon, because I think that's a really profound cornerstone in the legacy of the Buster Sword, that at the end of the day, it's a really cool sword passed on, you know, from Zack to Cloud, and it's used to slay Sephiroth, the demon of this world. But at its core, it was a father's gift to a son. It's a father's legacy, the legacy of the Buster Sword. So I that's something I hope that they really expand on. But I think we'll pause on the FF7 discussion for there. Obviously, when this drops on October 16th and we get a lot of new story beats, we will do a full-blown podcast on what First Soldier has to offer us. But again, exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to it. But let's move on. Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Metaphor Refantasio, which drops today. So, Metaphor Refantasio in here. Let's get a nice bit of a bigger look here for you guys. Let me expand this a little bit so we can get a bit of a better look. Okay. So, let me be clear. Reviews don't mean a whole lot. I don't think reviews are pointless. I know that's an edgy thing to say these days. They're like, reviews are pointless. That's just some guy's opinion. Yeah, that's great and all, but you know, things like YouTube and this channel wouldn't exist if people didn't value some random dude's opinion out there, because we're all just a bunch of random dudes and dudettes traveling this. Anyway, I'm getting stupidly existential. Anyway, I don't think a lot of weight should be put into reviews, be it audience score. I mean, critic scores like the Access Media, their reviews certainly shouldn't be taken with very much seriousness, or at least with a large grain of salt. User reviews, in my opinion, are more often than not usually more accurate. But let's get into Metaphor. So, listen, man, you're going to see everybody and their mother talking about this game over the next few days, because obviously it just dropped. The reviews are doing really good. People who got early copies are singing its praises on Twitter and everywhere else. So you're going to see a lot of people talking about this game. Don't forget, we've been talking about Metaphor over here on Morning Quest from day one. Back when this game was the game no one was talking about, we were talking about it here. We knew to be on the lookout for this new sect of peak fiction, which I'm speaking too early. I haven't even played the game yet. But essentially, the early reviews and the early, what would you say? The early reviews and the early reactions coming in are that this game not only plays incredibly well as a turn-based RPG, but that its story and characters are the real deal. And again, when coming from Atlas, that really shouldn't be too much of a surprise for anybody. I always had faith in them. I look forward to playing this game. Like I said, as long as my copy actually gets here on time today, we'll go live with this tomorrow. It's interesting, man. It's very interesting. I think that this can be a Game of the Year candidate. At the very least, it's going to give FF7 Rebirth a run for its money for RPG of the Year. I think a lot of these legacy IPs like Final Fantasy got to watch their back. Because Atlas is coming and they're cooking something new. But competition is good. They did drop a launch trailer for Metaphor Refantasio. I heard that there's a crazy amount of spoilers in that launch trailer. So we, in fact, are not going to watch it. But it's out there. If you want to see it, it's out there. You can find it. But anyway, look, this game comes out today. I think it's going to be a Game of the Year candidate. I think it's going to be one of the RPGs of the year. Reviews are in. People seem to really like it. I don't know. That's all I really want to say. We'll talk about it more when we get our hands on the game and actually play it, but it looks like the game is being received very well, which bodes well for people like myself who are looking forward to playing it. So, good on Atlas, good on Metaphor. Glad that the early reviews are coming in overwhelmingly positive. I look forward to playing it. Folsey is here. Says, my review, goated game, I've never played it. There we go. Reliable source of intel. But let's move over to another story in regards to Metaphor Refantasio. Now, let me be clear. What we're about to go over is not a reason for you not to buy this game, but it is a reason for you to purchase a physical copy if you can. Because Metaphor Refantasio, and you're going to start seeing this. You're going to start seeing this from a lot of companies now, basically acknowledging that if you purchase this game digitally, you have no right to ownership. They're being very clear about it now. This was always true. Let me be clear. This was always true. That's why there's a lot of people, in my opinion, engaging in a little bit of a hyperbole, acting like this is some new thing. No, if you buy digital copies, this was always the truth. The thing is, companies now like Atlus are being forward about it, because psychos like me won't stop yapping about it. But they're being very forward now that if you buy this game digitally, you essentially own a glorified license. And that Atlus can choose to revoke that license whenever they want. So, again, I think this is not so much an Atlus story or a metaphor story as it is a story about the industry. It's something we talk about on the show and this channel quite a lot. Let it just be another reminder that if you truly care about owning what you purchase, physical copies are just better. But look, maybe this doesn't move the needle for you. And it's like, nope, I'm still buying my digital copy. I get it a little bit cheaper. I know I don't really own it, but I'm going to play this game once and probably never look back. So who cares? I get that. So no, I don't judge people either way, depending what decision you make. But again, if you're like me, excuse me, a little congested this morning. But if you're like me and owning what you purchase matters to you, getting a physical copy of Metaphor will be ideal. I definitely want to get into some Dragon Ball and Shadow the Hedgehog, but you guys will have to indulge me. You guys will have to indulge me about this. Cowboy Bebop is one of my favorite animes and mangas ever. I have every issue of the manga. I have the entire series on Blu-ray. I love Cowboy Bebop. I could have taken adventures with Jet, Spike, Faye. I could have taken adventures with them for 200 episodes, but 25 episodes, and I am forever left wanting more. You got to leave when you're on top, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, the creator has a new anime coming out this month. Shichiro Watanabe. I always say his name wrong. Watanabe. Anyway, he's got a new series dropping via Adult Swim. I'm looking forward to checking it out. I know he made Space Dandy. Space Dandy didn't quite do it for me. I liked Space Dandy, but it didn't quite do it for me. So I'm interested in giving this new anime a shot. So Lazarus will be the name of it. Lazarus. So again, I am such a huge Bebop fan. So hearing this is music to my ears. I look forward. Zero, my man, Zero in the chat says same here. It just doesn't get better than Bebop, man. So yeah, this is very exciting news. And I guess now let's watch the sparking since we're in the world of anime before we get to Shadow the Hedgehog, because we are going to watch that today. There's a launch trailer for Sparking Zero that I think we all ought to watch. So let's pull this up. Sparking Zero. So big day for Dragon Ball. Not only does Sparking Zero come out today, but Dragon Ball Daima, the new anime as well. So Dragon Ball dropping a brand new game, fighting game, and a brand new anime, one that Toriyama worked very closely on, almost like a passion project. Makes it a pretty big day for Dragon Ball. And Sparking Zero, again, is another game that's getting absolutely rave reviews. A lot of people basically pre-ordered and got early access, so they were able to play a few days early. And people seem to really, really be loving this game. David says, never watched the anime. I really want to. Are you talking about Dragon Ball or are you talking about Cowboy Bebop? Let us know, David. Both are definitely worth watching. What up, Trousers? Good to see Trousers here. Look, let's... Akira, Forever the Goat. Forever the Goat. I love Akira Toriyama. Honestly, his work changed my life. It's not an exaggeration, guys. Akira Toriyama's work changed my life. I would not be doing this show if not for Akira Toriyama. I'll explain. I will explain. So, I came from a pretty fortunate background. right? But when I was really young, my parents and my family, we didn't really have a whole lot of money. Like, we didn't have cable. But my parents, and this is one of the reasons why I'm such a physical media guy, my parents had Cowboy. Oh, David, you gotta watch Cowboy Bebop, dude. You gotta watch Cowboy Bebop. I'm telling you, David, I am telling you, if you're a fan of what we do with this channel and you like my takes on things and you like the way I look at stories, I'm telling you, you will love and adore Cowboy Bebop. I'm telling you. But anyway, and maybe this explains my love for physical media, but when I was growing up and I was young, you know, and again, I'm making it very clear, I came from a pretty fortunate background, right? Let me just be clear about that. But growing up, when I was very young, my parents didn't really have a whole lot of money. So we didn't have cable, and all my entertainment was physical media. They had stacks of VHSs, and they had stacks of like CDs, and that's how and video games too. We had an NES. We had an NES in the home, which was a console generation behind, right? We didn't have a Super Nintendo, which was the system at the time when I was really young, but we did have an NES, and that was really my introduction into gaming. But when we eventually did get cable, and when I did have VHSs, I was watching tons of Disney movies, bunch of the Land Before Time movies, stuff like that. Like, that's really what a lot of the media I was consuming was. But then we did get cable, you know, as my parents started to, you know, advance in their lives and do better for themselves. We did get cable, and Toonami, bro. And when I saw Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z on Toonami, probably a little bit younger than I should have seen Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, this is what began my absolute fascination with Japanese media. Like, I did have Pokemon growing up. Like, my parents would buy me Pokemon VHSs, and like, my parents are they were actually very big on Pokemon because, and this is a little bit later in life, they bought me Pokemon Blue. And I started using words like critical and effective. And I'm like 5 years old. And they're like, where are you learning those words? And I was like, Pokemon. And they were like, all right, we're getting our boy Pokemon whenever he wants. But anyway, so eventually when I did get introduced to Toriyama's work, it sort of opened up a whole new world to me, right? Because people who fell into Pokemon, like, they didn't necessarily fall into anime. They didn't necessarily fall in to the world of like mass JRPGs and anime. But people who fell into like Dragon Ball most certainly did. So anyway, Akira Toriyama changed my life. Enough of my yapping. Let's get to this trailer. Launch trailer for Spark and Zero. Okay, the music just brings me back. It brings me back. I only got into anime because of 4Kids. Yeah, for a lot of people, that's their gateway, is Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm just saying, I know a lot of people who were really into Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Growing up who did not end up falling into like the anime rabbit hole or the JRPG rabbit hole. But I do find that people that did grow up watching Dragon Ball and Yu Yu Hakusho and Rurouni Kenshin, those who kind of fell into the Toonami block as opposed to the 4Kids block, I guess all I'm saying is there was a higher conversion rate among the Dragon Ball Toonami block as opposed to the 4Kids block. But anyway, let's keep this go. It's Pokemon. Pokemon is an anime no one really thinks of as an anime. Well, David, I think that's because of the very thing I'm talking about, is because when we were growing up, it wasn't really showcased to us in that way, right? As opposed to Toonami, which was very forward about what it was. 4Kids was really like, it was a different approach. Let's keep this going. Okay, stop. Full stop. Stop it. That's adorable. I don't care what anyone says. I thought the Boo Saga is among the weakest in Z. I've said that numerous times on the show. But it has such shining moments, and I don't care what anybody says. I honestly believe one of the highlights of the Boo Saga are Gohan and Videl. Great Saiyaman Videl. Especially in the beginning, it's such an endearing introductory arc post-Cell. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just a sucker for these sort of like couplings and romances. Maybe I'm just a sucker. But I absolutely love and adore the two of them. And this shot just makes me so happy. It's decided. I thought I was going to be a future Trunks and Android 18 main. Nope. I'm going to be a Saiyaman and Videl main. It's been decided. All right, let's keep this going.
Here!
It's the finale.
You're dead meat.
Time to take out the trash.
Although maybe I'll be an Android 17 main. For those who have watched Super, you know why. His high school life was fun to watch. Yeah, Zeb, I actually felt it was actually one of the better parts of the Boo Saga. Because the thing is, for me, the thing that's actually made, in my opinion, the thing that makes Dragon Ball effective is actually the good villains, right? Vegeta, amazing villain in the Saiyan arc. Frieza, amazing villain in the Namek arc. The androids in Dr. Gero, great villains in the android arc. Cell, great villain in the Cell saga. Even though I really like Cell as a villain, I think he's one of the weaker villains. But he's still a very good villain. And symbolically, him being like Dr. Gero's Frankenstein monster, Dr. Gero's legacy, and Gohan being Goku's legacy, and Cell and Gohan being this like symbolic rematch of the Red Ribbon Army versus Goku. Stuff like that is what makes the Dragon Ball universe tick. Boo was just so random and just... There wasn't a whole lot of symbolism and symbolic significance to Boo, right? Like, Frieza was the tyrant who enslaved the Saiyans. Raditz was Goku's brother. Vegeta was the prince of the royal family that Goku stems from. Not that he stems from that family, but he stems from the Saiyans, you know? And then you have Cell, who I just explained his symbolism. And Super figured this out because Jiren is a great villain because he's not even technically like a villain. And Zamasu I actually thought was a really good villain too. Anyway, I'm ranting now. I'm ranting again. Let's get back into it. I could just, if you can't tell, I could talk Dragon Ball all freaking day. Let's keep it going.
Here we go, everyone! Your energy with me for a spirit bomb! I'll hit you.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is pretty hype, but it's their worst trailer yet. It's just fireworks. There's like no gameplay. It's just every character launching fireworks. It's fun. It's fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. Not complaining. But I think this is their weakest trailer yet. Beautiful. Beautiful. I cannot wait to get into this. I'm gonna check on my copy right now. Because this is I've needed a fighting game. I have felt okay, still hasn't shipped, so it's probably not getting here today. That's okay. I could be patient. Metaphor gets here today. Probably should get into that first anyway. So, Yeah. What can I say? Looking forward to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. If anybody wants to throw hands, if any of you want to throw hands, you let me know. I will open Dragon Ball Sparking Zero lobbies on Saturdays. If enough of the sickos and normies are playing Sparking Zero, I'll be happy to open Saturday arenas. I'll be happy to do that. But again, enough of you sickos got to be on board. I pre-ordered and played already. For all of you planning to play, I must stress the importance of learning defense. Absolutely. You got to learn to block, parry, counter. I pre-ordered a physical copy, so probably no way I can play early until it gets here. I don't know if this trailer needs gameplay though. There's an abundance of that out. Trousers. That's why because you're 100% right, Trousers. And ultimately, that's why I wasn't really bothered by it, because there's so many Sparking Zero trailers out there with gameplay and game modes being showcased. This really is just to get people hyped. So they did what they did. I'm going to try and main Bardock, 17, and Goku Black. I respect that. I respect the Bardock move, especially. Like, they just need to grab the attention of people at this time. Yeah, they did what they needed to do. I would prefer just some of those fireworks be, like, within gameplay. But anyway, I'm complaining about nothing. All right. Ooh, we have one last thing to do today. And we got to get on it right this second. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen. Oop. 1 second. 1 second. Let me get that full screen. Then we'll go. Yeah, physicals were sold out by me. Yeah, I ordered it on Amazon. I just hope it gets here in a reasonable time. Like I said, I don't need it today. It can get here in a week. I don't mind, because Metaphor is getting here today. But man, I need this game like now. Anyway, let's watch us some Shadow the Hedgehog. The new episode for Sonic Shadow Generations just dropped. So let's watch this, and then we will wrap it up for the day. Okay, take this seriously, please. Please, anybody who's watching, flashing a strobing light contains flashing light or other strobing content that could affect individuals with photosensitive epilepsy. For the love of God, if you fall into that category, this is probably a good time for you to stop watching today's episode. Please, 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 please take that warning seriously. I'd hate for anything to happen to somebody watching my show. Now let's get into it.
Funded the research that created you, and when they got you, they sealed you away for 50 years.
This is where, again, I do want to say, I brought this up the last time we discussed this. At first, Rouge's voice was a little off-putting for me, because I didn't imagine that she would sound as ditzy as she does with the new voice actor. But I love that they can switch on the more darker, mysterious tone that Rouge is capable of. I really kind of love that duality.
My point is, don't get too caught up on any vendettas tonight.
Gun is not my enemy tonight. Just an obstacle in my way.
I call dibs.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to sound like a broken record every time we do this on Morning Quest. Why can't the movies look like this, bro? The animation's better. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is so cool.
Chaos control!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, dude. Maybe this is the power of Shadow the Hedgehog. This is the coolest the Sonic franchise has been in years. This is so cool. Oh, cool guys walk away from explosions.
I wanted to destroy it.
Shadow to Rouge.
I'm in position.
Copy that and initiating launch.
Okay, maybe someone in the chat or someone in the comment section later will have a lore explanation for me. Why did Shadow need this ship to get to the Ark? Couldn't he have just used Chaos Control? Somebody correct me.
Omega, hurry! You have to take out those guns!
What?
This is Commander Abraham Tower. All forces, stand down.
Wait! Abe! 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 That's Abe from the last episode! That's the guy that's a little kid who was mad at Shadow! Whoa! What that? Oh, God. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Oh my God. That's the kid from the last episode. When he was like, Abraham, I'm like, who's Abraham? I'm like, Abe! Maria's friend, Abe!
Abe! I brought that intel you requested.
And aided in the destruction of millions in gun assets.
Sorry, but Shadow needed some help saving the world.
If that's the case, despite all that's passed between us, he saved the world from Black Doom. He should have known I would have supported him if he asked.
When has Shadow ever asked for permission?
You could have talked him down, Rouge.
There's only one person who could ever do that.
Maria.
True. And she was lost to us a long time ago.
Awesome. This is such peak. Peak. Oh, stop it. Beauty and the Beast.
Stop it. That life was taken from me long ago. I need to focus on the mission at hand.
Isn't it funny how when we launch shit into space, we just dump it? We just like dump it.
A threat lurks aboard the Ark, and I must eliminate it.
I'm sorry. This is. I'm sorry. That's like the best Sonic content story-wise we've gotten in a long time, and I'm a fan of Frontiers. But that's just so good. Like, that's just so good. It's everything a Sonic fan wants from a Sonic the Hedgehog story. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to write Shakespeare. You just got to make it peak and make it edgy. This is really the best era of Sonic. Lands, we're getting there. I'm going to tell you right now, we're getting there. I'm pretty biased towards, like, the late Genesis Dreamcast era, right? I really think it's harder to get better than Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Sonic CD, Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2. Like, I think it's really hard to beat that circle, and the Archie comics that were coming out were really good in that time. So between all that and, like, the Sonic X TV show, so, like, that was, that era of Sonic, to me, will always be the strongest. I will say, since Frontiers, things have really been looking up. And Sonic Shadow Generations, I don't know a whole lot about it. I'm not trying to look into it too much outside of these little episodic releases they do. But if this is what the cutscenes look like, and if this is what the story is going to be like, then that'll be peak. Like, I see what they're doing with Shadow's character here. This is in my opinion, and they could botch it as the story goes on. But in my opinion, the setup they have for Shadow the Hedgehog here, this is some of the best story and character writing I've seen from Sonic the Hedgehog since the Dreamcast era. For real. Kobe's going to love playing this. I'm glad we can introduce him to Sonic games while it's peak. For real, right? Was that the first time we got this gun commander's name? Yes. Yeah, to my knowledge. I'm just watching these episodic things. To my knowledge, that's the first time we got his name. Dang, for a bunch of anthropomorphic animals, that had a ton of emotion. That's what I'm saying, Zeb. The writing is actually a step up from what we've gotten used to. Dreamcast was Pog. Yeah, the Dreamcast era, late Genesis, early Dreamcast will be tough to beat. And there was stuff in between the Genesis and Dreamcast. It just all flopped worse than the Dreamcast did. If they want to motivate Shadow, they should kill Marie. I mean, I'm not a huge Sonic fan, but from the outside, it's never been bigger. That's for sure. It's never been bigger. But my problem is, as someone who likes the movies, I like them, but they're painfully mediocre. And the characters are, with the exception of Tails, the characters are only themselves in name only. This stuff, this Sonic Shadow Generation stuff we're seeing is so peak. It's like the kid that I was, the kid in me who fell in love with Adventure 2 and Sonic CD and Sonic 3 and Knuckles would be very happy to be watching that. But look, we got to wrap it up here today, guys. I got to get to work. Thank you very much for hanging out, everybody. You're all awesome. I love you all. Pleasant good morning to everybody. Have a great Friday. We'll probably be live later today. I got to work late today. But we will be live with Nuzlocke, if not around 6 p.m. Eastern time. Probably later in the night, like 9, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Luckily, all my social plans this weekend are on Sunday, so it keeps Friday and Saturday pretty wide open. So tonight we should go live with some Nuzlocke. Tomorrow we're gonna go live with Metaphor and a Final Fantasy podcast, and then Sunday can't expect to hear from me. But anyway, we're out. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I love you all. Thanks for